Welcome to the Mostly All Figured Out podcast with your host, Emily Rose. Regardless of the career field, the lifestyle, everyone is mostly figuring it all out. This podcast is where we pull back the veil of perfection and share true stories, experiences, encouragement, and of course failures, detailing how people just like you are making it all happen, despite the uncertainty, the fear, the imposter syndrome, the setbacks, the shame, whatever it is. If you believe there is more for you than what your life looks like right now, you're in the right place. Let's figure out our next steps together. Now let's get into the episode. Welcome back to the Mostly All Figured Out podcast. I'm your host, Emily Louie, with another preface. This is the last of the collection of interviews that I did in 2024 in the spring time that did not make it to your ears until now. This one is one that is one of my most favorite ones I've ever done. I think because of how it came about, which I won't give it away. You'll hear about it. But the person that I had on the podcast today, Ellie Banke, which I say her name wrong at the beginning of this episode, so please ignore me. She is so incredibly talented. I'm just excited for you to hear her story. But the only notes I have for you here, of course, we had technical difficulties, always do. So you're going to see, if you're watching on video, that up until about 40 minutes in, there is video of both of us. After that, it's gone. The audio gets a little bit trickier for everyone after about 40 minutes in. We did go a little over, couldn't help myself. She's just precious. She's just absolutely precious. She's so talented. And I was just thrilled to be able to sit down and talk with her. So I hope you enjoy this. At the end, I did ask her what she was working on. And at the time, she was recording in the studio, working on the single that she released in October of last year. Because we recorded maybe April or May. And in October last year, she released her new single, Woman. So definitely go to Spotify immediately. Listen to the song Woman by Ellie Banke. It's amazing. I've had it on repeat. Also, at the end of this episode, I do tack on Tell Me Emily, her song Tell Me Emily, which is literally how I got connected to her. It's how this happened and how this came to be. And it is a beautiful song. I can't say it enough. She's so talented, but enjoy this conversation. You're going to love her. So enjoy. Sorry, Ellie, this took so long. This is the last one. So everything going forward will be in real time. Another thing that's interesting, last thing I'll say, is a lot of what she says is still so timely, and maybe even more timely now than when she said it originally, given the climate that we are in. So lots of really good pieces of lots of good conversation about boundary setting, self-care, self-love, and I think we all need a little bit more of that now. So enjoy the episode. If you like it, share it, and thanks for listening. Welcome back to the Mostly All Figured Out podcast. I'm your host, Emily Rose, and I am fangirling pretty hard today for today's guest. It kind of doesn't feel real, and we're gonna get into it, but we're in for a real treat today, and this is gonna be a super fun conversation. So I am psyched. Get ready, get your popcorn, get your glass of wine, get your keys if you're in your car, and not a glass of wine if you're driving while listening to this. Make sure you have your eyes on the road. But today we have a very special guest. She is an incredible talent based in the suburbs of Chicago who seamlessly fuses her role as an exceptional, and I truly back that up 100%, singer-songwriter with her dedication as a vocal instructor. Her depth of knowledge in varied genres, jazz, classical, musical theater, pop, R&B, country, folk, and rap, which I'm excited about talking about, anchors her years of experience in one-on-one vocal coaching as well as influence her original compositions. She currently has 24,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, around 400,000 followers on TikTok, and over 60,000 followers on Instagram. So please welcome today's guest, Ellie Banke.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really happy to be here.
I am so psyched that you are here. Kind of like how this came to be. So, my best friend, Alex Hamburger, I got to drop the full name because he will be really angry if I don't. He, and I'm not going to get this story right, but he takes tap classes in New York. He's based in Manhattan.
Awesome.
And I don't know if I think you came up as like a suggested listen for him in Spotify.
Okay.
And he fell in love with your song Fantasy. And so he brought it to his instructor, and they ended up doing a whole routine for
Really?
Fantasy. Yeah.
A tap routine
And what's that?
A tap routine for this?
Yes.
That is so cool. I want to see it.
I know. Well, I think so. He told me that his instructor then ended up doing like a whole other routine and like got it on video. So he's going to send it to him, and I will send it to you because
Please.
I just thought that was so
love
cool.
that. That's like, it's like my favorite
So
thing
cool.
ever when people dance to my music. Like, it's just like, I don't know, as a songwriter, like seeing people create art to the art that I've created is just like,
yeah,
so cool. So I
it's
kind of
like unreal, right?
that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's so neat to think about. Like, what is that like to just, I mean, if I hadn't just told you that, if we hadn't had this conversation, like people would just be doing these things with what you created and put out there, and you wouldn't even know it. So there's probably so many other instances of this. Isn't that wild?
It is. It's honestly like a really hopeful thought for me, I think, that like there's so much that I don't see, and like even if like
Yeah.
I'm impacting somebody's life in a really small way, that is the best part about what I do. Like, and I mean that 100%. Like, I just like that's what makes everything worth it, at the end of the day is that
Yeah.
like I get to connect with people, I get to make a difference no matter how big or how small. And I just think that's so special. Like, I feel like, I mean, and this might sound really cheesy, but I feel like being a vocalist and singing, that for me, I always say that to hear somebody sing is what their soul sounds like. And so like I just think it's such a
Yeah.
special thing to be able to share with other people, and like find this beautiful human connection in all these different ways. So yeah, it's just really
Yeah.
cool for me, and keeps things really positive for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Well, you seem to have a real way of connecting with people. Even just, I mean, just those numbers alone, like the fact that you have 400,000 followers on TikTok and 60 on Instagram, it's amazing. And but also, even just like looking through like some of your latest videos and stuff on TikTok, like
Sure.
you seem to really put a lot of your heart and soul into what you are creating, and even in the way that you perform. Like it brings me to tears just like watching some of your videos, because you can
That means a
see
lot.
that like it's so moving, like everything. I mean, and it's just really beautiful. So where does a lot of that come from in you? Where does your inspiration for the compositions you create and the lyrics that you create, where does that come from? And maybe like I'm sure for all of them it's a little bit different. Like obviously my favorite is Tell Me Emily. I love that's such a, I mean not just because my name. Yeah. Not just because my name. I mean it's such a beautiful song, and it's so deep and moving and like has so many layers. So let's talk about that song specifically, selfishly. Where did that come from?
This song is actually like one of my favorites to talk about. So like I feel like you picked like such a good
Yes.
one.
Yes.
And it's because Emily is actually my therapist. And so like the whole song is about a conversation I had with my therapist, because
I love it.
like, I was talking about how like we had like I mean, I've been working with her for like 6 years, and she is the most amazing woman. Like, I owe so much of how wonderful my life is now and how happy I feel to her. Like, I'm so grateful that the universe connected us. And
It's beautiful.
there was like a set of sessions that we had where we were like really working on like a lot of childhood stuff, you know? And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I feel like I'm in a house and there's no furniture. There's nothing in the house except for me, and I'm just stuck in
Mm.
there. And like, I can't see anything. There's no doors or windows. I have no idea how to get out, and I don't even know where to begin. And sometimes I kind of like being in the house because there's security in there. But there's also like a fear of what if I never get out, you know? And so it was about like, so it started from that, and then it kind of turned into the frustration of uh, doing the work in therapy, but like feeling like sometimes things were moving brilliantly, and like I was like, oh yes, like I'm making all this progress, like this is great. And then sometimes being like, oh my gosh, I feel so stuck. Like, what do I need to do to move forward? And like on
Mm.
the parts of the chorus where I sing the da 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 and all that stuff, you know, at
Mm-hmm.
the very end of it, and a
Yeah.
lot of yeah, I haven't sung that song in a hot minute, but
Oh,
that little nonsense
so
part,
good.
like, thank
Yeah.
you. But the nonsense part was because like sometimes during therapy, like I will abruptly like change topics when I don't want to be talking about something
That's
anymore
great.
because I'm like, haha, I don't want to talk about it, you know? And so it's kind of like me tuning out and being like, yep, no, I need to switch for a second because this stuff feels really heavy. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where that stemmed from. But the song really is kind of a collection of conversations and sessions that I've had with my therapist, and me
So
asking her
cool.
like, what am I supposed to do next? Like, how
Yeah.
do I figure this out? Just like tell me the right answer. Which way do I go? And
Yeah.
ultimately, like in therapy, you know, I've like yes, my therapist has been so wonderful and amazing in helping guide me through all of this, you know, and through
Yeah.
exercises and all sorts of stuff. But also, like, I think there was like a really powerful realization and understanding that I can trust myself to guide myself through it, you know, and lean on me a
Yeah.
little bit more. But this was at a time where I felt like I couldn't lean on me or my own instincts. Like I didn't feel like I had a firm sense of direction yet. And so that's where it
Mm.
came from, I suppose.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Thank
And also, I'm proud of myself because I was like, I wonder if she's talking about her therapist. I
you.
really
Yes.
wonder. So I feel like I am smart.
You know, it's so
Um,
funny. People like if I've like asked them like, who do you think this is about? You know, the number one answer that
yeah.
I've gotten has been my dog, which I like, which I'm always like, okay, like I mean, you know, but it does make me.
We do ask our dogs existential
Oh, 100%.
questions.
I've
I
been
do. Yeah. Yeah. That's so real. That's so real. I love that. That is so beautiful. And I will be putting that song on the end of this episode. Everyone
Awesome.
has to stay till the end to listen to it because it is such a
Thanks.
beautiful song. And that is how we got here because my friend Alex,
Yeah.
found you through Spotify and then did a whole routine. But then he started listening to other stuff and listened to Tell Me Emily, sent it to me and
Yeah.
said, this should be the theme of your podcast. And so then I went on Instagram and said,
Yeah.
let's convince Ellie to let me use this in my podcast. And you're like, yeah, you could do that. I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like, that sounds awesome. I would love that.
It was so great. I'm like, not in a million years did I expect you to just be like, yeah, cool, that sounds good. And so then I was like, well, do you want to just like be on the podcast? You're like, yeah, cool, let's do it. Like, I was like, this
That's what
is amazing. It's so
I was
great.
so excited. I was like, absolutely, yes. I mean, like, I love talking to people, and like, you just seemed like such a good soul, you know. And I figured we'd have like
Oh,
such
thank
great
you.
conversation, and yeah, I'm already having a great time. Like, I'm just grateful to
Yeah.
be here. You know, this is very fun for me. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Well,
Of course.
that's like one of the things about social media, right? I don't know if dichotomy is the right word, or the positives and negatives of social media, right? Positives is it can connect people from, I'm in Buffalo, New York, you are in Chicago,
Right.
and in no other way would this connection have happened were it
Right.
not for
Sure.
Instagram,
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
It's amazing.
So that is like something that is really incredible. But then, of course, there's the negatives. So, as someone who has a really big following on a couple platforms,
Sure.
what has your experience been like in growing both of those platforms? But also, like, have you had to deal with like the trolls and the negative comments and things like that? And how has that affected your mental health?
Totally. That's a big question. With a lot of layers. So I guess
Yeah.
first off, like from the standpoint of just like focusing on growing an audience, um, like when I first started really making videos and doing it consistently, like I was focused on like growing an audience, growing a fan base, and trying to get as many people as possible to listen to my music, and like if they liked it, they liked it, and if they didn't, that was okay too, But like I wanted to find the
Hmm.
people that would resonate with the stuff I was putting out, And so I was doing a
Yeah.
little bit of everything too. Like at first, I was like, yeah, like I really, would love if I could just do the songwriting stuff. But then I was like, but I do all these other styles, and I love that too. And like it's okay for me to do a little bit of everything. And so that's what I did, And
Yeah.
it just kind of spiraled, and I did a little bit of everything, and found a wonderful audience, and really, really great people. I've connected with so many wonderful people, and it's definitely been hard at times. I think like when I first started out, it was like if my like numbers would go down, I was like, oh man, like what am I doing wrong? Like how do I
Mm.
fix it? And then I was like having to remind myself, like, no, like it's okay. Like the people that are
Hmm.
supposed to hear you will hear you. And so that was kind of like an internal battle that I was waging. And on top of that, like as far as like the trolls, the haters kind of go, stuff like that, I had such a hard time when I started
Hmm.
because I rarely got a hate comment or a mean comment. Honestly, people were generally very nice. It was like per like 1,000 kind comments, I would get like one, probably even more than that. Like I would get like
Yeah.
one kind of rude comment that was like, "Oh, well, I don't know if I really like this," and I was like, "Why don't you like it?" like, but it's like, I
I would
was
be the
like,
same.
"Oh, I worked
Yeah.
so hard," like, and it was
Yeah.
really disappointing for me at first, and I was like, oh man, like that
Mm.
really stinks. Or, people would say some rude stuff sometimes. You know, um, like I said, at first, like it really bothered me. Like anytime that I'd see like a negative comment, like I'd get like an adrenaline rush reaction. Like my body would I would get really
Mm.
anxious, and I'd get really stressed about it because like I've just always had a really hard time with people being mean to me, and
Mm.
had a very hard time setting boundaries with people, and deciding what I was going to let in versus what I was not going to let in. And so for a while, it was just like really difficult. I dealt with it as it came. It was a crappy part of it, but I was like, you know what, it is what it is. Like I know what I signed up for being on the internet, that like sometimes I'm
Mm.
gonna get stuff like this, and that's okay. And I just need to continue to work in therapy to find the root causes of things and then go from there. And so um as I was like working on building this following, like I was building it for like I want to say I was going strong for like about like a year, because I think it was like
Mm.
August of 2022 when I kind of started. And then I started slowing down after August of 2023. And that was for several reasons. I had so much that was going on internally at one time. Like, for starters,
Mm.
every time I would try to record my original music, whew, I've struggled with perfectionism really badly my entire life, and like I would, there was this one song, "Paint Me as a Villain," that I was working on,
Mhm.
and I've actually mentioned this when I like kind of I took a break from the internet like January to like sometime in like May, like end of May, and now I'm back
Yeah.
on, but like I took that break partially because of everything that happened with this song, "Paint Me as a Villain," was just like one of the various reasons. There was a lot going on then too. But
Yeah.
Paint Me as a Villain, like I spent so much time recording this song. Like I was absolutely obsessive. I would start in the morning at like recording in the morning at 8 a.m. and work until like 12 at night, and trying
Wow.
to get like perfect recordings. And then my voice would be exhausted. And I woke up, I did this for like 2 weeks straight, like just trying to get
Ugh.
like the perfect recording. And things like Melodyne exist and pitch correction and stuff like that. And I use things like that, for like to grab a pitch here and there, things like that. And but
Mm-hmm.
it was just like absolutely overkill. It was really bad.
Mm.
And I like completely spiraled. Like it just sent me off the ledge, honestly. It was really rough. And
Yeah.
it had slowly kind of been building to that, with like different things that I had been recording, like having trouble getting music out because I was so obsessed with like making sure that it was exactly how I wanted it to be before I put it out. And if it wasn't, it didn't feel good enough to show to people because then what if nobody listened to it or nobody liked it? And it's just like everything just consumed me. Like and I was
Mm.
making content so often and working on music so often that I wasn't really taking a lot of time at that point to check in with my body and check in with myself and say, hey, actually, how am I feeling about all this? And on top of it, like had started playing some live shows, and I've been performing my entire life, like since I was like 7, and
Mm.
have had an interesting relationship, I would say, with performance because there's a huge part of me that loves it. Like I really do enjoy putting on a good show for people and exciting people, and making people feel things because I feel things. And like that part of it is so special and so cool. But I've always been absolutely terrified to forget my lyrics or have something go wrong on stage. And
Mm.
it has been like crippling, like horrible panic attacks before I go on stage, feeling
Oh
awful,
no.
like going and
Yeah.
performing and like holding through it. And then, like, a lot of the time I'd be able to just like sink into it and it would feel good, and I'd be okay. And then I'd get off stage and I would have like a crash because I had worked myself up the entire day for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I did
Yeah.
this, like, I mean, for forever. It was easier in high school when I was doing theater because with theater, like I didn't get as nervous because I was playing a character. And
Yeah.
it was really easy for me to like disconnect from myself and say, oh no, like I'm playing this character. And so if people don't like my performance, they don't like this character. They don't dislike me. Like it's not a reflection of
Right.
me. And so it was really easy for me to be like, oh yeah, like there's a workaround here. Like it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so that I didn't get as nervous for, but I stopped pretty much doing theater like after high school because I wanted to pursue songwriting instead, mainly. And um, performing my own stuff is infinitely scarier than doing literally anything else because it's
Yeah.
kind of like reading my diary to people. And it's like, I
Yeah.
know, like, I'm putting out these songs, but it's a lot scarier to physically be seen,
Yeah.
like person.
Right. Yeah.
And even like back in last August, I had like my first headliner show in Chicago, which was at Beat Kitchen. And that show
Congrats. That
was
sounds really cool.
thank you. It was really exciting, and I wish that I had been able to be more excited, but
Mm.
I had like worked myself up all day. I was trying to keep myself calm, and I had been practicing nonstop. Like I was like so pumped, and like I had like Slim Shady ready for the end of my set. Like I was like so excited for this
Amazing.
show, and I was like, yeah, I'm feeling
Amazing.
so good. And you know, I got there, and a bunch of things went wrong because I I had these like bedazzled tights that I had gotten for my costume,
Incredible.
and
Yeah.
I got them off of Amazon. I did not wash them because they were bedazzled. I was like, it's fine. I put these
Makes
tights on.
sense.
They gave me hives all over my legs, like everywhere.
No.
And so this is like a couple hours before the show.
Ugh.
I'm like losing my marbles because I'm like my legs are
Ugh.
itchy. I can't take a Benadryl because I've already taken Xanax that's prescribed to me to like calm my nerves, and I can't take both or I'll be
Yeah.
asleep on stage, and it was like a nightmare. Like I was like, what do I do? And
Oh
so
my
my fiance, like
God.
God bless him, he ran to I think the nearest like CVS and got me cortisone. Now I carry cortisone with me everywhere. Like if you see me in public, I have cortisone because like I don't fuck around at this point. You know,
No.
like I will not be itchy. So
No,
so
sir.
I'm like washing my legs in the basement sink of this venue and like applying cortisone and like upset because my legs are so itchy and I was already nervous, and then
Oh my
like
God.
a little bit earlier before the tights had started to make my legs itchy, I was outside like taking photos and stuff with my photographer, and
Mhm.
some like girls came up and were like, "Hey, like we're here to see you tonight. We're so excited to see you." And they were like so sweet, and I was like, "Oh my god, like I have never had anybody that I didn't know come to a show for me." Like it was like so exciting, and I was like,
Yes.
"Holy shit, this is awesome." And then I was like, "Holy shit, what if they don't like it?" and I
Oh my
like
God.
and it was like I was like, "Okay, they're here for me, but what if I disappoint them? Like what if they showed up
Oh.
and they don't like me now, and like I want to put on a really good show for them?" So it just like, oh my gosh, it compounded things for me. Instead of being able to take in the fact that
Yeah.
I had people ready to support me, instead it was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I don't want to disappoint you. I'm so excited to do this for you. And like I really want you to leave feeling really good and like you had an experience that was really positive. And so
Yeah.
it like doubled down my nerves. And the first song of my set um at that gig, I forgot my lyrics right away, like literally right away. I had practiced
Oh
like
no, Ellie.
so hard, and I forgot my. And like I said, it's not like I was like I didn't practice, or I didn't know my lyrics.
Of
It was just like
course.
I went blank. Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, they're all looking at me, and I can see all of them because like when you're performing on stage in theater, you can't see anybody. The lights are really bright, and you're like looking at the people
Right.
on stage. But like when you're
Mhm.
performing like your original stuff, on stage, like you can see everyone, and I was like, oh my god, like it was
Yeah.
just like semi horrifying, and so I was like.
Yeah.
And I had practiced for this too because I knew I was going to be able to see them. So like I had practiced, like staring my family members down and performing for them, like making sure I could look people in the eye and connect with people,
That's great.
but like it was a lot at once for me. And like I said, I
Yeah.
forgot my lyrics and I was like, yeah, I'm really nervous. Like I totally just forgot my lyrics. I'm just going to start over. And everyone was super nice and wonderful. And I did not
Yeah.
forget another lyric the rest of my set. And I was I was good, but I was not as good as I wanted to be. I was like, in my head, I was like, girl, you just got to get through this set. Like, there's work to be done. It's going to be okay, but you just need to get through this set, have a good time, focus on the emotion, and connect to your songs. That's the most important part. And I did it as best as I could. I felt like I was like reaching through the bottom of my asshole for my lyrics. Like, it was horrible. Like, oh my god. And so it was a really hard show. It was a really hard show. And at the end I did not do Slim Shady because I was just like I was out of breath. I was anxious. I was like, I can't do it. I'm just gonna go to
Yeah.
my closer and just like and finish the show. And it still ended up being a good show. Everyone was really happy.
Yeah.
Like I brought glow sticks for everyone, and like
Of
people came to talk
course.
to me afterwards and like
That's
take
so
pictures with me,
cool.
which was super cool. And
Yeah.
um like it
You
was
are so funny.
good.
I like cannot, I just like can't even, because anyone, like literally, it'll take people 30 seconds, not even 10 seconds of listening to you sing or watching one of your videos to be like, wow, this is a gifted person.
Aw,
Like you
thank
have
you.
so much talent that is, I mean, can't, people would pay so much money to be able to have the talent that you
Thank
have, and also you have such a beautiful personality as well.
you.
So
Thanks.
why do you think it's so hard for you to believe that like people would show up to see you and that they wouldn't, like, if you missed a lyric, they're not gonna be like, ah, that's it, I'm out, she's the worst, I knew it this whole time,
All right.
I knew it.
I think it's such like a confounding thing for me too sometimes because like I think about it and I'm like, if the roles were reversed, say I go to see like somebody in person, who like it's my first time
Mm-hmm.
seeing them, I'm really excited and like they forget a lyric or something happens or they're really nervous, I'd be like, I'd really want to support them. I'd be like, this is so cool. I'm glad you sang this. Like,
Exactly.
thank you for showing up for me. And like when
Yeah.
it comes to me, like at the time, like back in August, I was just so I was disappointed in myself, for like how
Mm,
it had gone because I had had like such a vision in my head for how I wanted things to go. And truthfully,
yeah.
that was really a life lesson for me at the time. Because I was like, I need to be okay with things not going exactly as I plan. And I need to
Yeah.
plan for myself to be nervous. And I need to plan on just telling the audience, hey, I am so nervous right now. And
Yeah.
I just need to take it one step at a time here. So, like, thank you for being here. I'm so grateful. And, like, at the end of the day, because I've done a lot of thinking on this and work on this, like, post
Hmm.
show and everything. I was so upset after my show. I cried the whole way
Oh.
home. Like, I was so disappointed.
Oh.
But since doing a lot of work on it, I'm like, I need to let people show up for me. So, like, I need to let people support me. And also, like, why would I
Yeah.
want fans that shit on me. Like I don't
Totally.
want to be attracting
Totally.
people like that in the first place. If they're like they come to my show, they expect me to be perfect. Like I don't want to build a fan base like that. I would much rather build a fan base like based on trust and the reality of the fact that yeah, I get really anxious sometimes and like that's where
Yeah.
I'm at right now. It might not be where I'm at forever. And I hope not.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
a lot of work
Yeah.
to
No,
do, but,
hell
like,
no.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I need to be able to give myself
Yes.
time and space to grow, but I need to also foster a fan base that like is giving me time and space to grow and like that feels like
Yeah.
they have the time and the space to grow because like
Yeah.
it's like a mutual trust thing. You know what I mean? And so
Exact. Well, and also it makes you like it makes you a real person. It makes you
yeah,
relatable. Like
right,
because that's how everybody else feels. Like
right,
at
totally.
least 90% of the people who were in the crowd that day, like if they stood up in front of everyone with a mic in front of them, they'd shit themselves. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
that's just reality.
Right,
Right?
totally.
So like but what I always find that like and this is true for, performers but also for even people who are, influencers on
Yeah,
Instagram and things like that. When people are real and honest and authentic and genuine and
yeah,
transparent, it just makes them so much easier to connect with. And
yeah,
I think that's why, like, for me, with and my like very small little baby following that I have that I'm trying to grow here with this podcast, I think one of the reasons why people like to listen to me is because I don't hide anything. I'm just like, this is what it is. Like, and it's messy and I mess up all the time and it's not perfect and I don't have a super cool studio. This is a closet that, I painted, you know? So, like, I actually think it's great. And I also think all the time when I fuck shit up and like make a mistake,
yeah,
I'm like this, or if even if I'm just going through a really hard season, I'm like,
yeah,
this is something that future Emily is going to say, oh, that was part of my story. That's part of like
yeah.
what, what do they say? Like the expression about like pressure builds diamonds or whatever.
Oh
Like
yeah, sure.
that was, like that was something that I needed to go through. That's part of my story. And it's something that like almost gives you credibility. Like there's probably so many performers and artists who have that moment that you
Yeah,
had
sure.
that they look back and they're like, oh my gosh, remember that like very first headlining show, or remember that show where I was over here and like, whatever,
Right.
like Slim Shady threw up mom spaghetti. Like, like everybody has the story of like things they did, and it's just part of the story that is building into, what you're becoming and where you're going.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that, and I honestly I couldn't agree more. Like, especially like in the last 6 months, like being off the internet for a while, because I was like having health issues and it was a whole thing, and all the stuff like with my perfectionism, and I just needed to take a break. And like I've been working hard in a different way, and that's kind of been like finding the love of music again, and also healing my body, of course, but also like taking a look at me and saying, you know, I cannot wait for people to give me validation to know that I'm good, or to think that I'm good or to feel like, yes, like they think I'm good, so I must be good. Instead, I have to focus on my own feelings and trust and intuition, and saying, like, I feel that I'm good and I really like this thing that I'm doing. And if nobody else likes this thing that I'm doing, like at the end of the day, that's okay. Like I feel called to put certain things into the world because it just I like I said, it's like I guess I just said it. It's like I feel called to, you know? And I like when I create certain things, it's like, yeah, I really want to share this with people. And if it impacts one person, awesome. If it impacts like 30,000 people, amazing. If it impacts nobody, that's okay too because it impacted me, you know? And so I've really had to focus on like loving myself first. Which I'm not gonna lie is really hard sometimes. Like it's a complicated world that we live in, you know, and with all like the societal standards and the patriarchy, you know, and everything that especially women are up against, you know, like it's a frustrating life to live and like I've had to figure out ways to really protect myself in that and find find what things like make me feel peaceful and solid and um stable, you know?
Yeah.
Like in who
Stable.
I
Oh,
am.
love that word.
Me too.
Yeah, and who you are. I it's that's so great. And that's like I'm working on that as well. External validation has definitely been something that I always am looking for ever since my birth. I'm the oldest of 9 kids,
Sure. You're all
and
oldest of
that
9? Wow,
was
that's a big family.
yes, is a lot. And so that was, doing everything right and following the rules and, all of that. That was my way of getting the good, the positive feedback and that kind of attention. And so I find myself all the time wanting that now. But also, even like I'm currently going through a divorce,
I'm
and
sorry to hear
it's
that.
so, thank you.
I'm
It's,
sorry because it's
it's
hard, but if
just,
it's right, of course, you know, then I'm happy for you. But
yeah,
more so,
thank
like,
you.
I'm sure there's just a lot of big feelings that come with that.
Yeah, it's a lot. And actually right now, literally in this moment, apologies to listeners, you may start to hear banging noises because my roof is getting done because we're about to put the house on the market. So they took a lunch break, but they're back. I just heard them landing up there. So just
I can hear
FYI,
everything on my end,
everything.
so
Oh, good. Okay. Well, just wait. They just came back. Um, but I it's so what I find so interesting about what I'm going through now and like how I'm seeing the different ways that people deal with divorce. And I it's so hard when you're going through this like really big change. And I have 2 young children, and so like being, making sure their emotions are good through this and that they're stable and we're building a new stability. It it's a lot of the time I find myself like needing to be social, needing to connect with
Mhm.
people, needing to be out, be with friends, like not be alone with myself.
Right,
But it's like right now more than ever before, I need to find that time. Like I need to prioritize the being alone and sitting in the uncomfortable
right,
and teaching myself how to give myself the validation and not need a partner or one of my clients or whoever to give me that validation that I need to give myself. But it's really hard to do. It's so hard to do. And it feels like, oh, it would be so much easier to just like see my friend right now who will tell me that I'm doing a
right.
great job.
You know, there can be a healthy mix of both, you know what I mean? Like, being able to sit with your feelings, but also, like, I definitely know that sometimes I really need my friends and my family for support and just to, like, reaffirm things for me because, like, you know, that also like helps us, I guess, with our own internal compass of saying like, yes, like I do feel good about this thing because like I'm leaning on people that I trust to tell me their honest opinion, you know? So like I definitely think that can be a good thing. But I was also going to mention, have you ever read the book the I think it's The Science of Stuck by Britt Frank?
No,
It is such a good book. It like
I'm writing this
oh
down.
my gosh, it changed so much for me. And yeah, I don't know, I'd really recommend it. It's like it's a lot about like anxiety and being stuck in life and, you know, wanting to do things but not being able to like do them, but it also touches on friendships and relationships and like, you know, family dynamics and things like that. And it like it touched so many different areas of my life. I listened to it as an audiobook. And I just loved every bit of it. My therapist actually recommended it, so
We
so
love her. We
I'm
love
gonna always
Emily.
another
She's
Emily.
great. So let's talk a little bit about your childhood and like your background and where you came from and maybe how that has, you know, affected the person that you are today.
Awesome. Let me think on where to start for that.
Yeah.
Um,
So I was born on no.
I always feel like I'm like I do want to start with that, right? Like, I mean,
What's your sign? Are you like an astrology person?
I am. Yeah, I'm a Sagittarius.
Okay. I'm still learning what all the things are. So I actually don't know what that means at all, but it sounds great.
I'm a fire sign. I got a lot of energy, that's for sure. But do you know what sign you are?
I'm a Libra. Yes.
You're a Libra.
I
Interesting.
am.
Oh, cool. That's
Yes.
awesome.
I think the main one is your sun sign, right? So my sun sign is Libra. That's when my birthday.
Yeah.
And well, it's all your birthday. So my sun is Libra. My moon is I thought it was Sagittarius. Actually, I think it's Sagittarius is
Oh,
my
really? That's
moon.
awesome.
Yeah. And then my rising is Taurus.
Cool. That's
So
awesome. Yeah, that's a
I
good mix.
know that. Is it?
I think so. I mean, from what it's
Okay.
been a second since I've like reviewed, and I've got like an astrology book that's like a basics like astrology book, and it goes through
Yeah.
like pretty much everything and just like how to read charts and stuff like that, and like what different things mean, and yeah, it's been a hot second since I've looked at it, but as far as I remember,
Love that.
yeah, it seems like you've got like a good balance there. I
Oh,
have like
that's good.
a lot of planets that are fire signs. So like sometimes I move very headfirst a lot of the time, which can be kind of hard. Um yeah, I'd have to like
Amazing.
check again though. Like I said, it's like it's been a second since I've like reviewed my chart, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Have you heard of the Pattern app?
yes, I use the pattern. I love the pattern.
I
Oh
love it. I love it
it's
so
the best.
much. We should add each other. I want to see our
Oh
compatibility.
please. Please, I would literally love that. Yes.
Yes.
We'll like swap numbers and everything and we can text about it. It'll be awesome.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect.
But yeah, so I was born on December 7th, which, Pearl Harbor baby, which that's kind of unfortunate. But
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah, yeah, growing up, it was like I was Pearl Harbor baby. Like that's what people referred me,
stop it.
which is
Oh
not
my
good,
God.
So,
You don't want that title. Perfect.
but yeah, my birthday is also when Delaware was founded. So
Oh,
when the state of Delaware was founded.
a
So
big day.
I try Yeah, I try to associate it more with that if I can,
Yeah.
especially because I like love Delaware. It is like my favorite
Get
place
out of
ever.
here.
I like love it so much. I grew up vacationing in Rehoboth Beach because we had some family members that had a beach house like a couple of blocks away from the beach, and like my mom, she's a single mom because my dad passed when I was
Mm.
almost 2, and
Oh, I'm
so it was
sorry.
me, my mom, and my sister. Thank you, I appreciate that. But yeah, so it was me, my mom, and my sister, and my mom worked her butt off. Like she has worked 5 jobs at a time before just to like keep us afloat, and I love her so much. She's superwoman, and like it was hard to like go on vacations, because we didn't have the money to take vacations, but our family members would let us come to their beach house for free in the summers. Like we'd like block off like a week or two, and go visit, and they are the happiest memories of my childhood. Like, and we'd go to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and I still visit today, and I absolutely love it. And it's just like magical. It's so
Yeah,
special there. Like
that's beautiful.
things just kind of work out for me in Delaware. So that's why I like to say I'm like, yeah, I like to focus more on like the founding of Delaware, rather than the other thing that is very sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that's history of my birthday, I guess.
Thank you for that information. Appreciate it.
I guess I kind of always showed an interest in music when I was really young, and thought it was really exciting. But
Mhm.
like truthfully, when I first wanted to start singing was when was when I watched High School Musical for the first time.
I'm obsessed
because
with that. That's amazing.
I watched the movie and I was like, oh my,
Wow.
actually, I had a childhood best friend who she told me this story when we were teenagers. I don't even remember this, but apparently when we were kids, at one point, we were in kindergarten, I think, maybe first grade, and she was we were just hanging out and I was like, oh my god, I'm so scared right now. And she was like, what? Why are you scared? And I was like, because I sound exactly like Gabriella from High School Musical. And she was like, girl, I don't know what I was on at that age.
Gabriella would be so lucky to sound like you, girl. For real. Gabriella would be so lucky.
Like I said at the time, I just I have no idea. I thought it was so cool and I really wanted to start singing lessons, and my mom actually, she put me in piano lessons to start, and I was working with this guy Derek, who owns Clarendon Hills Music Academy. At the time, he had just started this business. He was working out of a one. I don't even know if you could totally call it a studio. It was there was a door, there were stairs, there was this teeny tiny loft area where he teach piano, and that was it, and that's where he started this business, and he's grown it and grown it and grown it over the years, and it's this wonderful, just amazing company, that offers also a variety of instruments and voice and everything, and I teach there now, and so now I went from student to teacher, which has been fun. But at the time, like I said, I started with piano and I did not apply myself. I was really scared of him because he was bald and I was really scared of bald people. I don't know what it was.
I was scary.
I'm not afraid of them anymore. Sorry, bald people who are listening. But
That's good.
I was just so scared as a kid. I was like, why don't you have any hair? What's going on?
Where'd it go? Where did it go?
Right, where'd you put it? It was just I was young, would silently cry during the first couple of I was so scared. But after that it was fine. Poor Derek. Feel really grateful he gave me a job now.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. We love you, Derek.
Yeah, so I started piano. I didn't apply myself so much. I did practice, but I did not progress the normal way that a piano student would because I just, like I said, I wasn't practicing enough. I was more interested in writing my own songs. I learned my basic major and minor chords, for starters and everything, and some scales, things like that. And really, really basic music theory things would just start to write. And I wrote songs about breakfast and kid things, breakfast outdoors and my mom and stuff like that. And it was so fun. And as I got older, Derek and I and as his business grew, he moved to a new space. There were a ton of studios, and it was awesome. And I started wanting to do some recording stuff. And so Derek got me starting to record things, and we would work on music together and then we'd record them. He told my mom at one point, I think in a conversation that they had, he said that he was like, yeah, in Ellie's lessons we just do what she needs to do. And we just kind of figure it out because it started as piano, kind of turned into songwriting, recording, etc.
That's so awesome though. That's how it should be,
Oh yeah, 100%. He fostered a love for music in me. And did what I was really excited about. And he gave me structure, and he was like, okay, you've got 5 minutes, finish this verse, he would give me time constraints, okay, go, and so there was definitely structure, but I was having fun. My lessons were something that I always looked forward to. And I think around the time that I was 11, I want to say, I had done a couple of voice lessons with a teacher who was at Jordan Hills Music Academy, and then I had switched over to this teacher, Miss Elizabeth Quaintance, and I think she still teaches in the area around where I live, and she just helped bring me out of my shell. Like I was like so nervous to sing higher notes and stuff, and didn't think that I had much of like an upper register, and she had me singing like all these Disney songs, and I loved it. I loved it. Oh my gosh, I loved it. And she really helped begin to like shape me as a vocalist, And then when I got to high school, I had like switched over teachers, and that took me up another level, And it was like I was focusing on more intensive stuff. At that point, I was writing a lot, and I was really into musical theater. I started doing theater at like 10 years old and absolutely loved it. And just was doing a little bit of everything, like because I loved music. Like I loved listening to rap, and I loved listening to R&B and pop and a little bit of country and folk, and like doing all these styles was just so fun for me. Like I couldn't get enough of it. I was learning songs all the time. Like it was all that I ever did. And I just had so much fun, and I was performing when there were opportunities to, and like I said, I just like loved every second of it. High school was hard because like it's strange. Like when you're really young and you know what you want to do with your life, it's not a common thing. And so I was always very career driven. I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to like shoot for every opportunity that I can so that I can grow as an artist and as a person. Sometimes that's hard like in high school because like of course, you want to make sure that everybody gets opportunities. Like that's super important. You can't just give it all to one kid. But that being said, I was not a teacher. I was just a student auditioning for things and trying for things. And I worked really hard, but like sometimes I was met with jealousy or just people being really blatantly mean about things, which wasn't super cool. I look back on it now and I'm like, I have no idea what these other kids were going through, and I have no idea what impacted them to feel like that. And also, I'm sure I made plenty of mistakes in high school. Unknowingly, probably hurt some people's feelings sometimes, the same way that I know that other people have hurt my feelings, but I've not said things about it. And like, I I try to give a lot of grace to that time in my life because like high school students are I felt old, but I was so young. I was so young and so were my peers, and it's like a time of such uncertainty and you don't know what you're doing. And so like while it was a really hard period in my life, it was also really important for me because like eventually like it led me to learning how to set boundaries with people and being upfront emotionally and saying like, hey, yeah, like you are not able to treat me like this. Like you can't treat me like this. If you do, then this is what's going to happen. And not like a threat, but it's like, if you treat me badly, I'm not going to talk to you. Like I'm not going to spend time with you. You know what I mean? Like if you do something that I've told you, like I do not want you to do, and that I do not accept, and like you're still gonna do it, like there's gonna be a consequence.
It's interesting because that is not something that we really talked about as kids, like, or that we are taught as kids, like setting boundaries. But I find myself now with my 4-year-old and my 9-year-old saying things like that, like, oh, well, if you don't like if little Timmy keeps shoving you, then you just say, Timmy, I'm not going to play with you anymore, and you walk away, and that's your boundary, and that's okay. But it's but it's like, especially like for me, as I can't even say a recovering people pleaser because I absolutely still am a people pleaser, but like I don't think I ever, and I'm very fortunate because my experience in elementary school and high school was all very good. I went to very, very small schools. So like the pot was small. So everybody had to be nice to each other. There was like 3 kids in your class. But I never, I don't think if I did have to deal with something like that, I have no idea how I'd handle it because I am always so concerned about what other people are thinking and feeling. And
Yeah. That was pretty much like that was the staple because I was the exact same. Like I just always wanted to make sure that nobody was upset with me, and so that was really hard. And I mean, I got bullied like, pretty much like since forever in school, and like I said, I've come to peace with it a lot because it's like they're children. They're children.
Yeah.
I was a child, and like I've since then worked on all that stuff, and the ways that it's like that I've carried it into adulthood, because I don't need to carry it into adulthood any longer. The way that I really dealt with it is that I wouldn't say anything to anybody. Like I never confronted anybody. I think my sophomore year of high school was probably my hardest year of school because people were they were so mean to me that year. And like I would have like very frequently about stuff that they heard people saying behind my back, and stuff that was really mean. The way that I dealt with it was in between passing periods, I would go to the bathroom and I would cry, and then I would go to my next class. And it is, it makes me really sad for sophomore Ellie because like she was struggling so much and didn't feel like she could say anything, or like anything would get better if she did. And so I just have like a lot of compassion for me from that age, like I know that at the time I was doing the best I could with what I had to work with, and what I knew. And yeah, I still feel like I have some work to do in those areas of me. Some of them are like really, just really sensitive, and I still get anxious or sad about certain things from high school, which that's always kind of like a little bell for me that lets me know that I need to do some more work there. That it's like, okay, yeah, this is not settled in my system yet. Clearly, I'm still kind of upset about this. And there's definitely like I have plenty of things that I could say, oh yeah, like I'm definitely not over this yet, and it still is really difficult. But I'm trying to take it one day at a time and just be kind to myself and also still remind myself that like I'm really young. Like I feel like for most of my life I've always felt like I've been on the clock, and then it's like, oh, you're not getting any younger, and like you have to be like a fully fledged like artist by this certain age because if you're not, then nobody's gonna want to listen to you. And like all of that thinking, like I had to do oh my god, so much reversal on that because like so much of that also stemmed from the fact that like I am a woman and we are taught at a certain point that we like expire, and while men turn into silver foxes, women turn into witches and old crones. And what's so bad about being a witch? Like, first of all, but
yeah,
second of all,
right,
first of all, but second of all, like, just like so, like all of the thoughts and feelings like that are so steeped in patriarchy, and like I thought at 23, like I would feel. I don't know. This sounds so bad, but when I was a kid, like I was like, oh yeah, when I get to my 20s, I'm gonna feel so boring. Like, like I'm not gonna like the things that I liked anymore. Like, I'm not gonna be interested in like the world around me. And at this point in my life, I don't know that I have ever been more excited with the world, except for like when I guess I was like first discovering everything. But like, I love being alive. Like, I love to look at everything and pay attention to the world and create art and do the things that feel impactful to me, and not worry about it, and like some days are a lot easier than others. Some days I'm like, yes, like I feel so good in my body and so solid, and I love interacting with the world around me and just getting to live. And other days I'm like, yeah, today is definitely a harder day. Like I don't feel so solid in me today. Like some of those old feelings and thoughts that I've been taught like are creeping back in today, and I have to like spend some time with it, and do some work. But like it's really challenging and it's taken me a long time, like for the longest time I dyed my eyebrows like I don't even know how long, like for so long, because I felt like I was so ugly with blonde eyebrows because I felt like nobody could see my eyebrows. And so I started dyeing them. And now I've like grown them back out to blonde and I have never felt prettier. Like because I truly like me now, and I feel good. And I stopped shaving my legs and it has been the best thing. It has been the best thing ever. Like I'm so glad that I did because I mean for starters, like I have psoriasis and like I get it really bad on my legs. And so when I would shave like growing up, like I would just like cut open my psoriasis. It was horrible. It was so bad. But like because of the standards, that were set for women, like I was like, oh, I have to do this thing in order to be like desirable. I don't give a fuck about being desirable anymore. I'm tired. Like I don't want to do that. And also like my fiance loves me for who I am, for who I am. And I feel so confident in that. Like, and I just like, that's like the icing on top of the cake, you know what I mean? But like, I feel good how I am. And like, also, like, the reason that women started like removing their hair in the first place, is so horrifying. And it's because, and like, a lot of people don't know this, but do you know the story behind this? Okay.
No.
So basically, around like the early 1900s, like around like 1910, 1915, dress styles became shorter, and so women were like showing more of their legs, and sometimes like the dresses were sleeveless, and so you'd see armpits. Men took it as an opportunity to market hair removal for women, and they would market it in ads like saying like, oh, you don't need to be ashamed of yourself, just remove your hair. Like, do you really want to be
Ugh.
disgusted when you go to the beach? Like, are you kidding me? You know what I mean?
Ugh.
And so I had to take a step back when I like was doing reading about that and be like, okay, and for the longest time, like I was like, I saw women with not shaved legs, and I'd be like, yeah, like I don't want to do that, you know, like I like having shaved legs, but like I don't judge them for it. I think that's awesome, you know. But then I
Mhm.
really like started looking at it, and I was like, okay, do I actually like this, or was I just taught to like this better? You know? And
Right.
it's like if I had never been
Exactly.
told to shave my legs, would I want to shave my legs? No, probably not, you know,
Probably
because why
not.
would I be that? You know? And
Right.
so like I've stopped, and there's, you know, I'm very hygienic, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't I don't shave my armpits anymore either, but I keep it trim. You know, I've got like an
Yeah.
electric trimmer, and that's great because like, it's just, you know, it's that is like a preference. I like to keep my hair shorter down there, you know, it's just more comfortable. But like I love having my leg hair. Like I think it's like so awesome, and I feel more feminine than I have in a very long time, because I think like people try to define femininity as like a very specific thing, and it's like no, femininity should be person to person what makes you feel feminine, you know? I'm a woman, and so like that's that. You know what I mean? Like whatever I feel like makes me feel womanly, I guess, you know, or feminine, right? Whatever you want to say, like that's good for me. You know, and it may not be the same things for other people, and that's okay. But like I'm really happy just letting my body be the way that it needs to be and just exist, because
Yeah.
like I am so tired of existing for other people,
Mhm.
and
Oh,
trying to
yes.
present this exact thing for people to say, "Oh yeah, like that fits in with my standards of like what a girl should look like." You know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. You
Yeah.
know? And I don't know. It's been life-changing, honestly. Like I'm a lot happier. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not robbing my body anymore of
Yeah.
the things I was born with.
Well, and you're also like it's like a little rebellion and a little like love sign for yourself because you're like, I
Yeah,
want to do this and I'm going to do it. And I don't care if anyone else cares or
right.
what they feel about it. Like, I'm doing this
Right.
for me. My version of this, like, I also feel more feminine than I have in a
Yeah,
really long time.
that's
And
amazing.
yeah, and for me it was like I found myself, and I think it was, a lot of it was because of the relationship I was in and the role that I played in our family and everything. But I never wore dresses and skirts. I just was
Yeah,
in like pants always, all the
right.
time, pants, which there's nothing wrong with pants. I like pants. I'm wearing them now. But I and in very like neutral colors, like black, earthy tones. Also things I still like to wear a lot. But I started, when we separated, I started like anytime I would put something like a dress or skirt or like something like sparkly and blue like this on,
I love
I
that smell color. It's like my
thank
favorite
you.
color. And I'm like such a blue girl, and so like I like your screen popped up when we first started calling, and I was like, oh my god. So I love it. It's so cute.
Thank you. I love it so much. It's so cute. And it's also a crop top too, which I'm like
Oh
another
my
thing
god,
that I'm
that's
doing. So yeah, so I started just like wearing more things like this. And old
yeah.
Emily would have been like, nope, that's too much. Or, oh, you're not skinny enough for that. Or, oh, you're not like whatever. Like, oh, like if you go, people will be like, why is she wearing a dress? Like, why is she wearing a skirt? And so
Yeah.
every time the last like, I don't know, last year really, that I would find myself in the mirror saying, oh, that's too much, then I'm like, okay, well, now you have to wear it. Go out, you have to wear it. And I'll wear it, and then I feel amazing. And people will be like, wow, you look great. And no one, like, there was one time where someone said something to me like, oh, did you just come from like a big concert or something? Because I looked like I was like playing in the Philharmonic Orchestra, like the violin or something, because it was like a black long skirt and like this cute little black top with ruffles. So, but he wasn't even saying it in like an offensive way, but I took it that way because I was like bracing myself for someone too.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So like it was late the next day that I was like, no, Emily, he didn't mean it like that. Actually, you took it like that, but that's not what he was saying. But I think the more that we can like just allow ourselves to stop worrying so much about what other people think about the way that we present ourselves, the better and the more honest and authentic we can be to like wearing sparkly things if we want to, or wearing a crop top, or putting lash, like my other best friend Maria like loves to wear lashes. She just like and she's gotten really good at like getting them perfect and like finding the right brand and like and she just feels like $1,000,000 when she puts them on, and it's like that is the stuff. How do you feel when you put it on? Like, does it make you feel great when you go out and you're out there? Like, do you feel like yourself? Do you feel more feminine? Do you feel, and I think the more that all of us as women can, and queer folks as well, like can like embrace the feminine parts of us and put them out in the world. Like, let's flood the world with the feminine right now, please. Like, we need more of that energy.
Like, I think makeup is like the most, it is like such a beautiful art form. You know what I mean? And it's celebrated as an art form. And it's like not great is when you feel like you have to wear it in order to feel pretty still.
Right.
In order to feel like good about yourself. But like as like art and like like I love to every once in a while, like I love to have on like some makeup and like feel really good, and like I wear like light makeup, like some concealer, some blush, stuff like that, but like every once in a while I love to do like a super cool smoky eye, you know what I mean? Or like it's gonna like really elevate a look, and it makes me feel feminine, and sometimes like I feel really feminine like letting my hair like blow in the breeze, and having no makeup on and like being covered in dirt, so like have both. And I feel like people think that it's got to be one or the other, but it's like you can contain multitudes. You can have all of this within yourself and more. And some days things can make you feel feminine, and some days you can say, yeah, I don't, this doesn't make me feel feminine today. Like that's why I say like it's like really like a personal definition, of like what makes you feel good.
And like you said, multiple things can be true.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah. Like the same way that like I can have like a lot of anger about the patriarchy, and the system that's set up. Like I can also have and hold great compassion for men and the way that the system is, and like understanding why things are the way that they are, and have compassion for like lack of emotion and empathy, and stuff like that a lot of men are raised with. Like that's really hard. So, but I can also still be pissed, about like things that happen, so like, but I can have both, and I feel like people think it's gotta be one or the other. What are we doing?
Right.
Like,
it's
like
spiraling. We're all spiraling.
Yes, 100%. So I just think that, as long as like you hold space for your emotions and like the intent is to have kindness, just like put good out into the world, like I don't know, I don't think you can I don't think you can go wrong with that, but it's like it's so, I mean, it's so layered. Like there's so much within that, and there's a lot that I don't understand still, and a lot of research that I do, because things are always changing, and things so much of it is so horrifying. One step at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time. Well, we have gone so over, and I feel like I could like keep talking to you for another hour. So I'm going to ask you one final question. And I ask all of my guests one question, but I'm going to tweak yours just a little bit. So The question that I want to ask you is if something you said before that I thought was really interesting is how it can be really challenging being, a high schooler who absolutely knows what they're supposed to be, like knows what they want to do, has a goal. Like that is very rare. And it's interesting. I was just listening to, I've been listening to a lot of Color Daddy podcasts lately. I didn't listen to that ever. And now all of a sudden, like Spotify's just like, listen to Alex Cooper. She really is she's interesting. But she talked about how like she was like that. And so it's interesting that I just heard her say that. And now you're talking about that too. What advice would you give to a high school student who has that same mindset, who absolutely knows like, this is what I want to do. This is my dream. I want to make that happen. And I'm in high school and I'm doing it. But what I'm doing is taking steps towards that dream. What maybe 3 pieces of advice would you give to that student or that person?
Totally. Number one, get a therapist and get a good therapist. Like, don't just stick with the first therapist that you try because you want to be in therapy. Make sure that you mesh with the therapist. It's important to have trust, and you're going to build that in a relationship. But like, if you're not feeling it, like what a good therapist will do if they understand that the connection is not right is they will refer you to somebody else. But if you don't feel like it's a good connection, go somewhere else. It's okay. And like you need to make sure that you have a good connection, because like I've worked with like a few different therapists, and there's one that I worked with before my current therapist that I'm with, and she just knew that we weren't a right fit, and she referred me to my current therapist, and I've been with my current one for 6 years, and she's amazing, and we're still going and still working on stuff. And therapy is a lifelong journey. Sometimes it's not always. I mean, emotional growth is always a lifelong journey. You might not need to be in therapy forever, but it's not like you should put a certain time limit on yourself and say, okay, I'm going to be more healed by this time. Give yourself the time that you need and keep working on things and see what comes up for you. Be curious about who you are, the things that make you tick, and the things that have hurt you throughout your life, and see what ways you can begin to move the energy through your body, because that's going to be, oh my gosh, just invaluable, moving forward. Like it's truly like the number one most important thing that I've done in my life to feel like more of a person. I finally at 23 feel like more of a fully emotionally responsible adult than I ever have. And I'm still working, so.
Mm-hmm. I'm still working. I'm 34. I'm still figuring it out. Yeah.
Exactly, right? It's like it really is lifelong, like,
Yeah.
and like I said, you can't put a limit on it because of that, So
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
first thing, get a therapist, so important. The second thing is learn how to set boundaries and understand that boundaries are not a request. You say, hey, don't do that thing, right? They're still probably gonna do that thing, right? And so instead, like, it truthfully is best to confront people with compassion and say, hey, like I heard that you said this thing about me. Say like you hear somebody talks behind your back, and you want to confront them directly. In this case, you say, hey, I heard that you said this thing about me, and this really hurt my feelings. Like, please do not talk about me this way. I'd love to have a conversation with you. You can talk to me. I'm happy to clear anything up. And if you continue to talk behind my back, like I will be bringing it to staff. Or if it's like past that point already, and you're like, yeah, no, like this is just not getting better, I'm severely getting bullied, like you bring it up to a staff member and you be persistent, and you bring your parents into it and they be persistent. And I get it, it's awkward because it's like when you start bringing parents in and staff and things like that, it's like, oh, like what if you get socially exiled and everyone's like, oh, they're being so dramatic. You are not being dramatic, you are protecting yourself, and that is the most important part. So like, get people involved, make noise, be noisy about it. Like I wish I was noisy about it and had told somebody what I was going through and how horrible it was, or had told somebody how badly they had actually hurt my feelings by talking behind my back and said like, hey, I really wish you talked to me about this. Like this thing that you said about me is not true, and like you've really hurt my feelings. So it's a really hard thing though to be vulnerable and open and honest like that, which is again why I recommend therapy. You are going to get better at setting boundaries and better at feeling more grounded in your truth if you're working with a therapist and emotionally understand yourself more. It's so hard. Like I said, like high schoolers, like I was not prepared for that in high school, but baby steps, one step at a time, you know? Protect your peace. And protecting your peace doesn't just mean like ghosting people and being like, yeah, I'm not doing this. You know, like I'm not doing this with people and then like being super rude to them. It's about weighing the situation and saying, okay, is this a relationship that's important to me? If it's a relationship that's important to me, what steps can I take with compassion to resolve it? You know, and if somebody's not meeting you halfway, then you take a step back and you say, okay, what do I do now? Right? Like, do I bring adults into the matter? Right? Stuff like that. But again, all things that a therapist is going to help with. But like emotional literacy, if you will only get better like a little bit at a time. So give yourself the time and space. Take time for yourself to do things. And you should do this anyways, but especially take time for yourself to do things that feel exciting. You know, like after school, if you've been really stressed, if you have too much on your plate, a lot of pressure, right? Go do something that has nothing to do with your career. Nothing to do with it. Like go bake a cake, right? Get into a hobby, start crocheting, read a fantasy book, right? Go outside. Go outside, go outside, go outside. Like go connect with the trees, go hug a tree, talk to them. Like there is so much good that comes from being outside and being in connection with nature. So like do something for you to it's like refilling your tank, you know? Like if you're constantly running on empty, you're exhausted all the time, like you have to do something that's going to be just for you. The third kind of piece of advice here, I guess I kind of have four. Is it bad if I have four?
No, go on. Give us four.
Four kind of tie or sorry, three kind of ties into what I was just talking about. But get outside. Like truthfully, get outside. There is no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. Get
Yes,
outside.
I love that.
Go be in nature. Go hike. Do stuff. Like look at the bugs, look at the trees, look at the flowers. Like take time to look at the world around you. Because it is so easy to get caught up in what's happening online and all the negativity, and it's important to stay informed, of course, you know?
Yeah.
But if you're constantly consuming media and it's overrunning you, like that is so overwhelming, especially for somebody with a young mind, you know?
Yeah.
So get outside, it's going to help a lot. And my fourth piece of advice would be to be as kind to yourself as you possibly can. It's really hard in high school to feel like you have any sense of individuality because everybody wants you to stick to like a certain format, right? And be and look and act a certain way because and it's like all the kids, right? Everybody wants to be that way because everybody's too scared to say something and everybody's too scared to do something different. In high school, I definitely at times judged people that dressed differently and like did things differently, and I didn't do it out loud. I wouldn't tell people that, you know, but in my head I was like, why do they look like that? Like why are they doing things like that, you know? Like they dress so different from everybody else, you know? Like in certain instances like that. And now I look back on that and I'm like, okay, like that was just a lot of messaging that I was receiving, but I wished so badly that I had the confidence to flounce around in super beautiful, amazing gowns in school. Like that would have been so cool, you know? So it's so hard to have individuality, you know? So do it in little ways. Start small if that feels good for you, but like be kind to yourself over and over. Even if you're joking and you say like, "Oh, I look like such an ogre today." Like I did that shit all the time. I would joke with my friends. I'd be like, guys, why do I literally look like Shrek?" Like, and stuff like that. Like, was so. It just makes me so sad for myself, honestly. Like, I look back on stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, actually, it really wasn't funny because, like, whether I knew it or not, I was still doing damage to myself. Like, that self-talk is a huge thing. Even when I record now, like, I used to, if I had to take it, like, I'd be like, God, like, that was so fucking dumb. Like, that sucked. Like, I wish I hadn't done that, you know? Like, I need to do better. Like, can you stop sucking at singing, Ellie? You know? And, like, when I stopped doing that, then I started becoming an even better vocalist. I got more consistent. My vocals got stronger. I felt more confident. Like I felt good while I was recording. Like it is a night and day difference. So even if you think you're not doing damage, you are. So be kind to yourself, reaffirm it, you know, wear the things that make you feel good and do the things that make you feel good. Like I said, it's so hard to be in high school. And it's so hard to especially like know what you want to do in high school and be dealing with all the pressure that comes with that. But take the pressure off. take the pressure off and do it for the love of it, your career will come later. It'll happen. And like you will find the way to get there. It's all a part of the journey, but like you got to give yourself space to also be a teenager and to just like do some dumb stuff sometimes and to grow and to laugh and to spend time with your friends and to live. Like that is equally as important. So be a teenager first. Your career is super important. You can be dedicated and know what you want to do, but like leave time to be a person because otherwise it will become not fun.
Yeah.
And you don't want it to become not fun. It needs to stay fun. If it's not fun anymore, there's no point to it.
So get a therapist, get a good therapist, set boundaries, go outside, and
be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself. That's right. Thank you. Yes. And these, you know what? And also you kind of had a fifth in there, which was like, do something when you come home, like do something that has nothing to do with your career and just like.
Yes, I know. I had so many
have
things.
A hobby. No, I love it. But like that is also, this is great for high schoolers, but it's really great for everybody. These are really great things and great practices that we all should have. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I know I've like chit-chatted your ears off today.
That's the point. I love it. I am so honored, especially in your return to the internet, that you were open to being on this podcast, and you are clearly like such an incredible, talented person, but also you are so like your mindset is just so right. You are clearly going places, and I'm just like I'm so honored to like be a little blip on the road of where you're headed.
No, because you're not a blip. You were so important to me. Like,
you're so sweet. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, my alarm just went off. Scared the heck out of me.
It's like, get off of this girls' podcast. Like, it's time for you to go do things.
It was just my alarm like remind me that I need to eat lunch and not just go right into recording. Because like then I'll like start recording and I'm like, wow, I'm really hungry right now. I wonder why.
That is truly, I have never forgotten to eat lunch in my life. So that's great.
Right now I'm doing so much work-wise that it's like,
yeah,
it's like one thing goes into the next, you know, and I'm like, oh yeah, console, what am I doing next? And then I'm like, why am I hungry? Oh right.
Like, I didn't eat today.
It's like a weird phenomenon. I don't even know.
Where should people go to? Well, and we'll put all the links in the show notes and everything, but where do you want to send people and what do they have to look forward to? Like, what are you putting out there next?
If you want to find me on social media, it's just at Ellie Banke. And if you want to find me on Spotify, Apple Music, stuff like that, also just Ellie Banke. That's my real name and my stage name. And as far as like stuff that I'm working on, right now I've been working on a lot of music privately. I'm not really sharing anything with people yet because I'm trying to finish projects before I get them out. But I will say that the next project that I've been working on to put out, I'm really excited about. And I feel like it's going to be hopefully really impactful and resonate with a lot of people. I'm excited for people to hear like what I am working on, and I'm trying to plan ahead and get out some stuff too that like I know people have been wanting from me. But like I said, I'm still kind of taking my time and giving myself the time and space to grow. Yeah, and thank you again. Just like thank you so much for having me. Like I know you said like that you feel like you're like a blip along my journey, but you're not. Like I just like having this conversation and talks like these are really important for me because it also kind of affirms for me like actually like I have done a lot and I have come a long way and like I'm still growing and there's still stuff that I'm learning. Of course I'm always going to be learning, but like it reminds me like yeah, like I'm doing good work, and also like I absolutely have just loved connecting with you. I think you are a wonderful woman and person, and like you have like so much strength and power in yourself, and that like you are, I feel like, I don't know, I'm really excited. I feel like I'm seeing like a reemergence of like Emily right now. I feel like along your journey that it's like you are, I don't know, it's like I can't explain it. It's like there's this like little shimmer that's like, oh yeah, I'm just getting started, and like stuff, so it's like it's so cool to kind of get to be a part of your journey, and like seeing what you're doing.
Make me cry.
I'm so serious though. Like I think you're making such an impact like with your podcast and talking about the things that a lot of people skirt around the edges of, because like more than ever right now, like people, like you said this earlier, I'm pretty sure like people need authenticity. People need reality. People need to see like, yeah, actually, like, we're all kind of scared, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be perfect. So, like, you were doing amazing stuff. I think you're exactly where you need to be. Like, I'm really enjoying getting to know you too. So, thanks for everything.
Thank you so much. That is so nice. I really appreciate that.
Of
And I'm
course.
just like,
Absolutely.
so I'm excited. I'm excited because this is a blip along both of our journeys and it's going to keep going and we're going to be growing together. And I'm just like really grateful for the universe and Spotify and my best friend for bringing us in Instagram and all of the platforms.
Please thank your best friend for me. I'm very
Oh,
grateful
I
to.
will. I will. I will. He'll be so thrilled that he was brought up in this. Once again, Ellie's Hamburger. I'll name drop. He is responsible.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Stay on to. Actually, I'll probably just play it right after this. So the song "Tell Me Emily" will be playing next. And make sure you do go on Spotify and find Ellie Banke, which I said your last name wrong at the beginning. So sorry about that. Nothing is perfect. Nothing is certainly not me, that's for sure.
Me
So go listen. You will not be disappointed at all. She is an incredible talent, and this has been so much fun. So thanks for listening, and thank you, Ellie, and we'll see you next week. Bye. I'm holed up inside of this house. Ain't no way I'm getting out. I claw my hands at the stone. Built this place at 7 years old. Nice age to do what you're told. Subconscious constantly berating me, and all that it's left me is fucking lonely. I just need someone to hold me. Emily, oh, Emily, oh, Emily, oh, Emily. Why am I afraid? How'd I get this way? La-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-dee. Tell me, Emily, am I an oddity? Oh, what does healing take? Can I take a break? La-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-dee. Tell me, Emily, am I the enemy? The enemy. Do you think I chose my fate? Do you think I wanted it this way? Do you think that there is anybody to blame except me? Got a place blame where blame is due. Ain't nobody quite do it like you. Rewriting my mind inside and outside and again, and I don't wanna pick up my pen. Don't wanna pick up my pen. I don't wanna do it again. But you said to get it out of my head. Get it out of my head. Oh, Emily. Oh, Emily. Oh, Emily. Oh, oh, oh.